I found 7 ancient places where no one survives, locations marked by an impossible geometry that defies not only architecture, but the very logic of human permanence. In the heart of the most remote regions of the planet, there exist structures that seem to have been designed to repel life, where the silence is so dense that it becomes oppressive and the forms sculpted in stone suggest a knowledge that should not have existed millennia ago. We are not simply talking about ruins, but about zones where reality itself seems to bend under the weight of an unknown design. What most documentaries omit is that in 3 of these locations, digital compasses and GPS sensors present a deviation of 14 degrees without any presence of iron ore in the soil. It is a geomagnetic anomaly that suggests that these structures were not merely built upon the Earth, but rather integrated into the planet's electromagnetic field as if they were components of a colossal circuit. If you had entered there 5,000 years ago, you would not have found merely silence, but a low-frequency vibration that the human body processes not as sound, but as instinctive fear. We began our journey in the depths of the Arabian desert, where monuments rise that official archaeology struggles to explain. There, colossal structures known as Mustatils extend for kilometers. They are perfect rectangles, visible only from above, built with stones that weigh tons in an era when, technically, humanity barely mastered basic cutting tools. What intrigues researchers is not merely the scale, but the total absence of signs of habitation. No one lived there. No one survived the isolation of these walls that seem to channel winds and energies deliberately. It is a geometry of exclusion, made for something that does not breathe as we do. Recent satellite scans revealed that the Mustatils of Arabia are aligned with a precision of 0.01 degree to astronomical events that occurred only 7,000 years ago, a period in which conventional science claims we were mere nomads. But the most sinister detail was found within one of these rectangles, a skull of sacrificed cattle placed in a chamber that was sealed in such a way that oxygen never entered again. This raises a question that archaeology prefers to ignore. Who or what demanded a geometry so vast to accept an offering that no one should see? As we crossed the ocean toward the jungles of South America, we found stone platforms where the precision of the fit is so absolute that a sheet of paper cannot penetrate the joints. In places like Pumapunku, geometry reaches a level of technical impossibility that borders on absurdity. Blocks of diorite and granite were cut with perfect right angles and internal perforations that resemble modern machining. Yet these places have been deserted for ages. The environment around them is hostile, the air is rarefied, and the arrangement of the stones suggests a layout of complex machines, not of homes. It is as if we were walking inside a mechanism of planetary scale that was abandoned by its operators, leaving behind an environment where human biology is simply incompatible. The search then leads us to the depths of the Longyu Caves in China. This is perhaps the most disturbing example of impossible geometry. 24 artificial caves carved into solid sandstone with a uniformity that defies erosion and time. If you tried to replicate the finishing of the Longyu Caves today, you would need industrial finishing machines with diamond-tipped bits. The volume of rock removed is equivalent to 400 Olympic pools. But there is not a single pile of debris within a radius of 50 kilometers. It is as if the matter had simply been disintegrated or transported out of this plane. Modern engineers who visited the site noted that the acoustic resonance inside the chambers is tuned to a frequency that induces altered states of consciousness, a detail that suggests the geometry of the walls was not aesthetic, but functional. Whoever removed 1 million cubic meters of rock left no trace of their physical existence, only the geometric signature of a project that ignores the limitations of light and oxygen. Attempting to remain there for long brings a sensation of profound disorientation. The human mind was not made to process such repetitive and vast patterns in an environment of total confinement. In the Indus Valley, The ruins of Mohenjo-Daro present a different mystery. The city was planned in a perfect grid, with a drainage system that surpassed that of London in the 19th century. But there is a detail that history books usually avoid. The epicenter of the city exhibits signs of sudden vitrification of stone, something that only occurs under extreme heat. Skeletons were found in the streets, hand in hand, without signs of wounds from bladed weapons. They were not buried. They were paralyzed in time. The geometry of the city, so organized and logical, became a thermal sarcophagus. The level of radiation found in certain points of Mohenjo-Daro is still, in the full 21st century, 10 times higher than the natural background of the region. Samples of sand fused into green glass, the same material found at modern nuclear test sites, were collected in the center of the city. The forbidden question that many experts avoid asking is, are we looking at the end of an ancient civilization or at the testing field of a technology that humanity only rediscovered in 1945? Today, the place remains avoided, a monument to a catastrophic event that transformed a triumph of engineering into a permanent zone of death. Further north, in Turkey, Derinkuyu descends 18 stories below the earth, an underground city capable of housing 20,000 people, with ventilation ducts that function perfectly to this day. However, the structure is composed of narrow corridors and massive stone circular doors that can only be sealed from within. It is a geometry of panic. The question that echoes through those silent chambers is not how they built this, but what they were hiding from. The air is heavy with the weight of millennia of isolation, and the sensation that something still watches from the shadows of the lower levels makes permanence impossible for anyone not driven by absolute desperation. On the remote Easter Island, far from the famous statues, there exist stone foundations called Ahuvinapu that exhibit the same impossible fitting technique found in the Andes, thousands of kilometers away. How did the same complex and specific geometry emerge at isolated points across the globe simultaneously? The mathematical precision of these bases suggests they served something far more technical than mere temples. Those who attempt to camp in these areas report failures in electronic equipment and a magnetic interference that defies simple geological explanations. Finally, we arrive at the structure that crowns this mystery, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Although it is the most studied monument in the world, its internal geometry remains a challenge to our scientific sanity. The ventilation channels do not serve to breathe, but point with mathematical precision to specific constellations of past eras. In 1993, a small robot sent through one of these ducts discovered a sealed door with copper pins, a metal that was not used structurally by the Egyptians of that dynasty. When they finally drilled through the door, they found an empty space that, according to recent thermal measurements, maintains a constant temperature of 20 degrees Celsius, independent of the scorching heat of the desert out there. The pyramid is not merely pointing at the stars, it seems to be acting as a capacitor, holding something, or information, in a state of eternal thermal preservation, beyond the reach of our current physical understanding. The pyramid is not just a building, it is a data processor on a monumental scale, built with 8 sides, a detail invisible to the naked eye, but revealed by shadows during the equinoxes. It is a place where time and space were encoded in stone. No one has ever survived or inhabited its internal spaces as a dwelling, for it was not made for the living. It is a stone engine, an impossible geometry that remains as the final test for our understanding of history. These 7 places show us that the past was not merely a slow progression of stone tools, but a period where the impossible was built, and then, for some terrible reason, left behind.